And
so Murdoch
good.
he says, right, Bond, here's the deal with this movie. As you probably know, Rambo, there are 2,500 soldiers from the Vietnam War who are still officially MIA. Most of them are dead. But there's a persistent rumor that some might still be being held as POWs, including in the camp that you used to be in. So what we want you to do is go in there, take some pictures to either prove or disprove this, and then come back. That's it. Just take pictures. Do not engage.
Perfectly reasonable for an intelligence agency, I would say, first of all.
If there is anybody there, we'll send Colonel Sam in with Delta Force to pick him up, but just go in there, take pictures, come back.
Confirm their presence, and then leave. And Rambo is like, what do you mean I don't get to rescue them? Like, Rambo's like, we're still leaving the guys there.
So we don't even know there are guys there, Rambo. So
the way Murdoch describes this POW MIA shit is...
Now, maybe the government didn't care. Maybe certain segments of the population didn't care.
That's a horrible bit of fashion. Certain segments of the population actually thought it was good that our boys were being tortured, having their like nutsacks burned with like hot irons by the Viet Cong or whatever.
This is a myth. A, first of all. B, this is a myth.
Yes.
B, this is John McCain's pet myth, is what this one fucking is.
Yeah.
The Vietnam War POW issue. They're just dead, bro.
Yeah, as we will see later on, this is like doesn't even make internal sense.
Yes.
No. If you were curious where this came from, you may have seen, if you're an American, the POW MIA flag. Sorry, I said I hate you in your country earlier. I do.
I do, yeah.
You may have seen the POW MIA flag, the like black one with the like human head silhouette against barbed wire or whatever that like some places fly. That's in commemoration of this kind of myth in the narrowest sense. And that started when the Nixon administration, and this will shock you, lied about something.
What? That's crazy, dog.
In order,
tricky dick, you would never.
He wouldn't lie.
In order to increase support for the Paris Peace Accords, in order to increase support for ending the war, the Nixon administration exaggerated the number of Americans who were missing in action in Vietnam. And what missing in action usually meant was like, your skeleton is in the jungle somewhere, they can't find it.
Dead, but we can't find it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And what they did was they exaggerated that number as a way of like sort of pressuring the American people to support ending the war. And then later, this became sort of like a real feature, if you've read the essay, The Paranoid Style in American Politics, a real feature of that style was they still have live American prisoners over there in Vietnam, in Laos, and Cambodia, even though the war has ended. And why aren't we going and rescuing them? And this continued as a myth from the early 70s all the way through. I mean, it's still kind of around today, but all the way through into the 80s.
Suffice it to say, this is wrong and deeply racist. Vietnam was desperate to like redevelop like relations with America at this point. There is no reason that they would ever possibly have to still have POWs.
Yeah, also, I mean, like, spoilers, I guess, for later on, but it turns out there are actually some POWs in this film.
There is a movie.
Who are there. There is a movie that happens. He doesn't just go and find nobody and then, like, just confronts the ghost of his past. That would be quite good, though. But later on, we hear that, like, skipping forward a lot, Colonel Sam says, like, at the end of the war, we were supposed to pay the Vietnamese reparations. We didn't, so they kept the POWs. And I'm like, if that was the case, if the Vietnamese government were intent on ransoming these people, why keep it secret? Why wouldn't Vietnam constantly be like, yo, we have these POWs, please give us money for them? Why would it doesn't even make fucking internal sense.
No, none at all.
No, it does not. And bear in mind that, like, since normalization of relations with Vietnam, the Vietnamese government has been helping the US to, like, find and catalog remains of all those dudes who just, like, died in the jungle. Presumably, in the mindset going on here, which, like, imposed itself on American politics for a long time, because by sort of, like, force of, like, arms and masculinity, by being like, no, you weren't there, so you don't get to tell me that my obviously false belief is false. You have to, like, throw this fucking flag up about it. Presumably that all of those guys just, like, died of old age, I guess.
Yeah, or I guess, like, you know, we've now reached the point where even if there was anybody who was being held as a POW in Vietnam, they're almost certainly dead now.
Yeah.
Apologies if you're listening to this podcast in a torture camp in Vietnam.
If you are listening to this, like, neck deep in pig shit in a Vietnamese prison camp.
That'll be a difficult listen to you, because we do insist that you aren't real.
It was nice of them to let you listen to podcasts, though, to be honest.
Well, maybe that's part of the
thank you.
See if your captors will let you access killjamesbond.com/contact and just get in touch.
I'm like, I'm in a tiger cage, you know, and my wrists are like tied together with wire. They're making me listen to Call Her Daddy. I'm screaming and no one's answering. By the way, I should also say, people did try and do the plot of this movie. There was this guy called Bo Gritz who tried.
Classic American name.
Bob Dugner.
Yeah, he was.
Yanks love to fucking be called Todd Gonzalez.
He was a special forces like lieutenant colonel, and he tried to organize private rescue missions with Laotian anti-communists.
And anti-communists in quotes, is that?
Anti-communists in Laos. Interesting.
Yes, and these were financed by a bunch of like private donors, including Ross Perot and Clint Eastwood.
Hell yes.
And
God.
They went there, and like a bunch of their dudes got captured and ransomed.
That's a fucking movie. That's the movie I want to see, is they go in like gung-ho to rescue POWs who aren't there and get captured. That's funny.
They become the POWs.
Yeah.
Self-fulfilling fucking prophecy. And people say that cinema doesn't have an impact on the world. Look at that. We're financing people.
The stuff that Bo Gritz got up to was both such a great movie in and of itself, but also so embarrassing that Eric Haney, this guy who was like, he was a Delta Force Master Sergeant, he was also a believer in this POW MIA thing, but his excuse for how they'd never found any was, we were gonna invade Laos and Vietnam again and find the POWs, but then this guy Bo Gritz showed up and started doing like TV programs about how he was gonna free the POWs, and they just moved them. And it's like, for fuck's sake, Guys, in 40 years, no one has produced a single shred of evidence that this even happened, even one time. It's the same with the, like, spitting on me when I got back from Vietnam and Rambo First Blood Part 1, where it's like, no, this didn't happen, but, like, it's psychologically important to you to believe that it did.